Hello and welcome, dear sweet friends of the internet, of planet Earth, of football fandom, and of Chelsea suffering. What's going on? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Chelsea news of sorts here in the Stamford Bridge studio. Today we're discussing an investigation that Chelsea will launch internally, or considering launching internally, and we also are going to talk about hot topic Graham Potter. Headline maker. Naturally, when you're, stinking up the middle of the Premier League table after big transfer spend, questions will be asked, but some home truths need to be told. And not just Chelsea fans, I believe everyone interested in football needs to find lucidity in the scenario at Chelsea and what's going on. So welcome. Thank you for joining me for this video today. You are most welcome. If you want to support me, consider dropping a like. And you're welcome to subscribe as well, so you can join the journey of Yannick's footballing crisis. Interestingly, look, things were bad before Potter was appointed. In fact, I'm looking at a graphic here from LiveScore, the last 18 games of Thomas Tuchel versus the first 18 games of Graham Potter. Now, they're both 44%, which of course is unacceptable on both counts. But things were real bad at the end of Thomas Tuchel's reign, seemingly untenable. And what actually makes this worse in terms of Thomas Tuchel having the same win rate for nearly 20 games as the same as Potter is he knew this side. Granted, he had to navigate a very difficult period, but he knows the club, he knows the side, he knows the training facilities. But the most salient point of all was he did not have this profound injury list that Graham Potter has to deal with. Tuchel had more and better players available, yet he still was getting the same poor results, despite already being acquainted to Chelsea Football Club and knowing it better and not having to get to learn the club like Potter has to. This is not a hit piece on Thomas Tuchel. If you watch my content and this channel, you'll know I'm a great admirer. Love Thomas Tuchel, love the way he spoke, and I always reference how his theatrical nature and dramatic theatrical nature lends well to me as a content creator, or is good for me as a content creator. But to be honest, before a content creator and a YouTuber, I am a Chelsea fan, and I want Chelsea to be good. I want my football club to win, and I want my football club to show, professionalism, dedication, and really an infrastructure. And I always say it, bro, and I'm sorry if you're going to get tired from me saying it again, but I've been calling out for everything we're doing right now. For an appropriate management team, scouting team, recruitment team, technical directors, sporting directors, this is what you need. We haven't had it for so long, and because we haven't had it for so long, we've ended up with, drum roll please, this. Just look at the table, look at the performances, and look at the dysfunction. I saw a video on Twitter that was bang on talking about the problem with Chelsea, how it's pointless and actually unhelpful to chant for, of course, Roman Abramovich and Tuchel. I agree on both counts, but also a reference of how it's testament for João Felix, a player that has had one training session with Chelsea Football Club in the hardest league in the world, the fastest and most technical and physical league in the world, the Premier League. In a West London derby, one training session, got to the country a day before, and is levels above everyone else on the pitch. Levels. It just shows you where we are. Stinky air. It's not tactical. It's just crap. It's just crap, dude. And that's what. And I'm not here for digging out individuals. I will say certain performances on the night yesterday were profoundly poor. Whether it's youngsters that have been in the academy like Chalobah, or the Chelsea's captain who is a legend, Azpilicueta, absolute stinkers. Or it's just players that were talented, were shiny toys, but we bought them because they were shiny toys because of the Roman Abramovich and Marina Granovskaya era. It worked sometimes, a la Eden Hazard. Thus far, it hasn't worked so far with Kai Havertz scored a historic goal for us. One of which we'll be forever thankful for. He's very talented, Kai Havertz. Very talented. Hopeful it's still going to work out for him. But we didn't buy him because it made sense. We didn't buy Danny Drinkwater because it made sense. We didn't buy Tamuri Bakayoko because it makes sense. We didn't buy Zappa Costa at right back because it made sense. I could go on forever. Jorginho is playing awfully lately. He made sense because he was for Sarri ball, but it still was and we still relied on Kante, Hazard vibes, like bailing us out. Those two players, respectively, N'Golo Kante in the midfield and Hazard in the attack, just bailed us out. And it looks like we were like clutching on to the hope of João Felix representing this bailing you out character, like Eden Hazard in the front line, just taking people on and expressing himself, and everyone else just letting him save you. Great if it works. To be honest, it's not great if it works because it just shows you that you're really not prepared for being a good football team. But yeah, we need a clear out, and we need to check out these like injury problems because Zakaria again yesterday. Potter clearly very, very unlucky as Chelsea manager. I think the ownership can see that. Well, everyone can see that. But I think the ownership are taking that into account to such a degree where they're like, yeah, this is not on Potter. This is just we need to build from the ground up. And you don't build from the ground up with someone. You need to build from the ground up with a good coach. And despite what any of you think, Graham Potter is a good coach. But an appropriate figure that works well with people, that understands people and can manage up and down grip. It's just, he's their guy. Let's jump into this article from Matt Law and talk about this investigation. Chelsea are conducting a review of the club's medical department as they attempt to find reasons behind the devastating injury crisis amid fears among players that the decision to sack long-standing staff has backfired. This is interesting. Denis Zakaria became the 11th Chelsea player to be struck by injury at Fulham on Thursday night, with the club's owners convinced the absence of key players is the biggest reasons for the team's alarming slump. It is the biggest reason for the team's slump, but it's not the only reason, and it's not so it is the biggest reason to address, but I think such an important reason to address is as well the players that can't perform, the players that aren't working, and the players that are on a lot of money and don't suit the project and don't, represent the joined up thinking that we must hold on to now moving forwards. It's just where we're at, man. Head coach Graham Potter has retained the support of Todd Boehly and Clearlake Capital owners, with sources again insisting that his future is not even a topic of discussion following the defeat by Fulham. Potter has been without key men such as Reece James, N'Golo Kante, Wesley Fofana, Ben Chilwell, and of course Sterling and Pulisic joining, and Denis Zakaria. And of course there are others, Loftus-Cheek, Mendy, that would have been used, by the way. Loftus-Cheek, again, regardless of your opinion of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, whether it was by Tuchel or indeed, I believe the early stages of Potter, he was being utilised. And he was getting a lot of praises again. Granted, his form fluctuated, but certainly a useful player that could have played right wing back, that could have played central midfield, that could have played sweeper in the back three. That's done. Do you know what I mean? Like, he would have been utilised, especially in this injury crisis. Therefore, making him a key man as well. There is optimism that a number of players will return in February, but Chelsea are reviewing the medical department and the treatment of injuries to determine whether or not their current problems could be avoided. As first revealed by Telegraph Sport, long-serving medical chief Paco Biosca was dismissed shortly after the Boehly Clearlake takeover and was followed out the exit the door by popular head physio Thierry Laurent, who was sacked over Zoom. Ooh la la, Thierry Laurent. The moves to get rid of Bielsa and Laurent shocked long-standing Chelsea players as the club outsourced some of their medical work to private physiotherapy company used by celebrities, including Foo Fighters frontman, easy for me to say, Dave Grohl. Yeah, I remember that story. The Foo Fighters physio. Fofana was even flown to America by Chelsea's owners for medical checks after him signing from Leicester City, of course, because he's had that like a bad leg break. Before we move on, I feel like I get this, by the way. When you buy a business, you have to have a clear out. You know, you keep the assets, which are the players, but you do just clear out the staff. This is just how it works. If there's some really popular people that represent, say, like the heart of the club, like, you know, Billy, the nutter masseuse, that's been at Chelsea since like the dawn of time, who everyone loves, you don't get rid of him, and they haven't got rid of him, and he's still knocking about, and everyone loves him. But in terms of like the medical department, remember, these guys run really successful American sports teams that are like, in many ways, light years ahead of Chelsea in terms of their like medical teams, their facilities and stuff, and they want to try and bring that to Chelsea. Look, even if in hindsight right now it hurts with the injuries, you could say right now with sacking the management team with the placements, it sucks. In terms of the long-term plan, you have to do it to make things work. So Chelsea's injury list has grown much larger this season amid suggestions players such as James and Fofana, who both suffered setbacks, were rushed back too quickly, and others have been allowed to play with problems and knocks. Yeah, well, we remember, I think I spoke about it on the channel, Reece James's personal fitness guy posted a social media story of him like a semi-cryptic thing, essentially asserting he was annoyed and frustrated that James was put back and put in that position to have a relapse and injury. So yes, that's absolutely true. The Telegraph Sport understands that players believe changes to the medical department were made too quickly and individuals they trusted with their fitness are no longer at the club. That's quite interesting. So Chelsea are now reviewing the medical department and the way that which players are treated and allowed to recover in a bid to bring the club in line with their rivals and improve their injury record. Did you remember Arsenal just had this all the time? We've literally turned into Arsenal more ways than one. Yeah, absolutely mental. Asked if the club were looking into the injury problems, Potter said this, quote, "Yes, absolutely. We're looking all the time. We're going over how they are happening, trying to evaluate the whole thing. Sometimes it's difficult to know how things have happened. It's a bit of bad luck. Yeah, maybe true. But it's also knowing where we can go forward to improve." I mean, yeah, he must be thinking, like, what have I done? Who has hexed me? You know, when Zakaria went down, you know, you kind of like, as much as it makes headlines, whatever, João Felix, he had a dodgy touch and then he tried to make up for it on his debut and he knew he was playing well and he wanted to be aggressive and assertive and rush of blood. He's only 23. You know, Potter called it right. It's a bit of a forwards tackle, a striker's tackle. It sucks because we'll be out without him for 3 games and it's not a good look. But you're kind of like, all right, well, that happened. It's unlucky. But it does, you can see how it happened. But the injuries, a lot of them non-contact, that is no good, Padre. That's what we need to sort out. On whether or not Chelsea have made any key findings, Potter added, "There's nothing at the moment. There's not even a pattern, different problems." It's tricky because it's not like we've been overtraining. And I don't think Chelsea have been overtraining. We certainly need to get to the bottom of it. Of course, he talks about Zakaria and then the Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, which I don't want to talk about here. Okay, so there needs to be an internal investigation. Look, when players come back, like Kante, like, is he even going to be here next season? Certainly, Wesley Fofana and Reece James are going to be massive. Absolutely massive. If we're going to play a back 3, yeah, put Wesley Fofana next to Thiago Silva. I guess Koulibaly stays on the left for the moment, you know, because Cucurella was very bad there when he played left centre back. And then Reece James at right wing back. As soon as Ben Chilwell gets back, he's getting his chance for me, you know. And midfielders, Chukwuemeka needs to give, even if it's like a 6-6, give him a chance. And just pray for Zakaria to come back. And I guess if Kante does come back, you do drop him in because you need that hole in midfield's profound. It did, as much as Havertz frustrates me, it looks like he did have chemistry with Joao Felix. I don't know, man. Apparently, we're going to make more signings as well. Like Marcus Thuram are very likely. If the news drops, I'm going to react accordingly. It's hard to get myself really, really excited for transfers when we've had plenty of transfers and we're looking at what we're looking at the moment. But for me personally, this scenario is not on the manager. He needs to just persevere. We need to stick to our guns. We're in it now. We are where we are. We felt the pain. So let's feel the gain? God, that felt cheesy saying it. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you for joining me. Comment down below. Like and subscribe. Yeah, man. A little update. In like about 10 days time or just less, I will be moving house. My new office is very small. And this green screen, hey look, shock here. I'm not in a studio. This is actually a green screen. That looks kind of weird. Makes my hand look really small. Look at that. Hi, I'm Yannick with a small hand. Anyway, I might just have to film in my office essentially, which would be sad. But I think you guys would just be alright with that. I don't think you guys mind too much. We'll see what happens. I might better get a smaller green screen. Anyway, I'm rambling. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon. Peace.